Quote of the day: stars don't compete to shine, they simply glow in their own place in the sky. Maybe that's what love and kindness are. Quiet light that doesn't need applause. A lamp is not brought to be put under a bowl, but on a stand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Matthew chapter 5 verse 15. That is your quote of the day. Now let's get right into this video. Now I just finished watching WWE Clash in Paris, and quite honestly, it was a whole lot better than I expected. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't have high expectations going into this premium live event at all, dude. I didn't think it was gonna be this good, but it was surprisingly enough very entertaining, dude. Like almost all of the matches were bangers, except for one, and we'll get on to what match that was. Okay, we'll get into that. But all the matches, dude, they were entertaining in their own way, in their own special right, So overall, I enjoyed Clash in Paris. This was entertaining. We got shocking moments, good matches, dude. This was fun to watch. This was one of WWE's best PLEs this year, so far. It's up there. We've had some bad PLEs. This was not one of them. This was pretty good. This was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'll give credit where credit is due, But anyhow, let's just get right into this review and let's talk about what happened on this PLE. So before we even start talking about all that, there is an announcement. So WWE Monday Night Raw this week, this Monday, it will have a special start time. So WWE Monday Night Raw on September 1st, 2025, it will have a special start time, and Raw will be starting at 2 p.m. Eastern Time and 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that's that. So be on the lookout for that if you don't want to miss it. I didn't know about this either till now. So watch out for that. And anyhow, now let's get right into this PLE, okay? Now, this was the very first ever premium live event in Paris. So this was kind of a special event, a special occasion. This was pretty cool, this was a pretty special thing. And everybody in attendance, the fans, those in attendance, the crowd was unbelievably lively, they were popping for everything. The crowd was active throughout this whole show, It was lively from start to finish. This was amazing. The crowd was spectacular, man. The crowd was electrifying. So that was pretty cool. And I appreciate the crowd, showing up and showing out. So that was cool. Give credit to them too. You got to give the crowd their flowers and their roses. But anyhow, let's keep moving. So we got to our first match, and we started off with the holder of the Shulafala, the tribal thief Bronson Reed, versus the OTC Roman Reigns. Now, Roman Reigns came out wearing two different colored ulafalas. He was wearing a red ulafala and a black ulafala. And it was said that Roman Reigns was wearing two different colored ulafalas to show respect to his father and his uncle, so symbolize respect and to show respect to both his father and his uncle. And I thought that was pretty neat. I thought it was a pretty cool moment, So that was cool to see. Anyhow, we get into the match, and the match started off pretty even, with both men getting offense in, but very quickly, very early on, Bronson Reed was able to get the upper hand, and it was one-sided from there on, with Roman Reigns occasionally getting in some big moves, some big spots, some big moments, but like it was far and few, Bronson Reed was dominating the OTC, and I'm like, come on, dude. Are you trying to tell me Roman Reigns is washed? Because I don't think he's washed. Jesus. But anyhow, we got the match. It was back and forth, but mainly with Bronson Reed dominating. At the end of the match, Roman Reigns ended up hitting Bronson Reed with a Samoan drop off of the top ropes. Then he speared Bronson Reed in half for the pin. 1, 2, 3. The tribal chief, the OTC Roman Reigns wins. And, he's the winner. This feud should be done with. This whole story should be over with. But nope. After the match ended, Roman Reigns ended up attacking Paul Heyman, and he put Paul Heyman, the wise man, that fragile, amazing-looking man, that beautiful man, self-proclaimed best-looking man in the world, Paul Heyman ended up getting put in the guillotine hold, the guillotine submission hold, and Paul Heyman was knocked out. Roman Reigns ended up getting his shoes back, and he signed a few of the shoes, and he threw them into the crowd. So that was pretty cool. So some members in the crowd got some pretty cool Jordans, so that's cool, So Roman Reigns basically signed his shoes, and he threw them back into the crowd. So like basically he didn't care about them, period, I guess. I'm like, you were fighting for the shoes, you get them back and you gift them. I'm like, it's a cool moment, but like story-wise, it kind of like means you really didn't care about them. So I'm like, what was the point of this match overall? But whatever. But anyhow, after Roman Reigns is finishing up signing his shoes and throwing it into the crowd, out of nowhere comes Braun Breaker, and he absolutely spears Roman Reigns in half. He spears Roman Reigns through the announcer's table, and he leaves Roman Reigns laid out. And after Roman Reigns gets absolutely speared in half, he has to be escorted out of the arena. He has to be helped out by officials. And Braun Breaker decides, that wasn't enough. And he comes running down the entrance ramp, and he hits Roman Reigns with a mean super spear, And after that, Bronson Reed was like, let me get me some, okay? Let me get some of this. And he comes in the ring, and he hits Roman Reigns with 3 back-to-back tsunamis, which look gruesome. And then finally, after this, atrocious beatdown, after this mean, hellacious beatdown, Jey Uso finally decides to make some time in his busy schedule to come out and help his cousin. I'm like, dude, where were you the whole time? Like 3 tsunamis ago, 2 spears ago, where were you at? I'm like, come on. But anyhow, Jey Uso finally makes some time out of his busy schedule to come out and help his own cousin, the OTC Roman Reigns. But it was just too little too late, because as soon as Jey Uso came out, he got some offense in, he hit a few super kicks, but it was just downhill from there. He got speared in half and he got destroyed. And that was that. We had a scene where Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker were being kicked out of the arena, by security. And that was that. And they left Roman Reigns, and Jey Uso just laid out. And Roman Reigns actually had to be stretchered out. Like he was put on a stretcher and Jey Uso was walking him out the arena, which was pretty cool. And that was that. And that was the match. And all things considered, this was actually a pretty entertaining match. This was a pretty good match. I enjoyed this match. It was a really good opening match, a really good first match. So I enjoyed it overall. After that, we got to our second match of the night, and it was the Street Profits versus the Wyatt Six, and it was a tag team championship match. So the Street Profits actually came out in cosplay apparel, which was really cool. It looked kind of cool. They came out dressed as Borderlands 4 characters specifically, so I thought that was pretty cool. It fit them, I guess, so that was that. Anyhow, getting into the match, very early on, there was some tension, disagreement, and miscommunication between the Street Profits. Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford, they were having disagreements who should start the match. They were tagging themselves in and out, stuff we've never seen from them. So I thought that was pretty odd. And I hope this is hinting to something. But anyhow, it was said that this was the first time they weren't on the same page. And I'm like, you know what? As a matter of fact, they are on the same page, just in different books. They both know their goal. They know what they have to do. They know what they came out here to. They just can't agree on stuff. So same page, just different book. Anyhow, the only thing I didn't really like about this match was really the Wyatt Six, honestly. The Wyatt Six are a cool team, but I feel like they're too grounded. Their moves are a little bit too basic. I'm like, if they would benefit from adding some high-flying moves into their repertoire, some heavy-hitting moves, some unique-looking moves, because they have a basic move set. I'm like, nobody really gets hyped for a clothesline, a body slam. That's kind of boring, They need something refreshing, something energizing, something that makes the crowd go crazy, So that was kind of the one thing I didn't like about this match. The Wyatt Six look a little bit too basic for me. They were too grounded, But anyhow, throughout this match, dude, it has to be said, Angelo Dawkins is amazing in this ring. For his size, for his stature, he is incredible. This man was doing high-flying moves, suicide dives, high-flying moves off the top rope. People like to point out how good Montez Ford is in the ring, but you got to talk about Angelo Dawkins as well, dude. That man is amazing for his size. He's amazing in the ring, dude. He's so athletic, so energetic, his moveset, his everything, dude. We got to give credit and give props where it's due. Angelo Dawkins is actually amazing in the ring, and I feel like it's not talked about enough. This match really showed that. He showed up and he did his thing and he showed out. He looked like a real star. But anyhow, near the end of the match, we got a lot of interference from the Wyatt Six members, the ones that were ringside. We got interference from Eric Rowan, Nikki Cross, and even Uncle Howdy. And this ended up costing the Street Profits the match. Wyatt Six ended up hitting their finisher called the Plague on the Street Profits for the win. And despite, my nitpicking, this was actually a pretty good match. This was another really good match. The in-ring work was really good, especially on the Street Profits' part. They really carried this match. The Street Profits made this match really good. The Wyatt Six did their thing as well, but, it was mainly on the Street Profits. This was actually an entertaining match. I like the, in-ring action. I like the speed of everything. How it didn't feel too slow. It didn't feel too drawn out. It was really entertaining. Anyhow, after this, we got to our third match of the night, and it was the man Becky Lynch versus the woman Nikki Bella, I guess. I don't know. It's the man, the woman, whatever. It was the man Becky Lynch versus the woman Nikki Bella, and this was a women's intercontinental championship match. And let me just say, the more I hear Becky Lynch's theme song, the more I like it. It's an absolute banger, dude. Oh my God. I'm like, dude, this is so good. Whoever made that up was cooking. Jesus. But anyhow, this match overall, it was pretty mid, honestly. The in-ring work rate wasn't really anything too memorable. I mean, there were a few cool spots here and there, but something felt like it was off. It felt like something was missing, And case in point, Becky Lynch ended up winning via roll-up. So that shows you how important this match was or how entertaining it was. I'm like, dude, it ended up in a roll-up. I'm like, you're just wasting our time to get to a roll-up finish. The match overall, I don't know. It felt a little bit sloppy at times. It felt I don't know, unserious at times. It was a cool match, whatever, but it was a raw match, honestly. That's how I could describe it best. It was a raw match. Nothing special, nothing too unique. I don't know, man. I didn't really like it too much. It was mid, like I said. I'd watch it on Raw, definitely, no complaints, but for a PLE, I feel like they should have did something even crazier. They should have went out and did more, they should have showed out a lot more, and they should have been more crazy spots, more crazy moves and stuff like that. But that's just me nitpicking. But anyways, like I said, Becky Lynch ended up picking up the win over Nikki Bella via roll-up, and that's how the match ended. And Becky Lynch is still your women's intercontinental champion. After that, we got to probably, in my opinion, the best match of the night, the match of the night by far. It was the Bulgarian Brute Rusev versus the Celtic Warrior Sheamus in an old fashioned Donnybrook match, okay? Dude, this match was so good. Oh my god, this was match of the night by far, hands down. And like the crazy part is, I didn't expect much from this match. I was like, dude, I saw it on the PLE. I'm like, dude, what's even the point of this? We could have got this on Raw. I'm happy we didn't get this on Raw. I'm happy we got this in the PLE. This was so good. Oh my god. We saw chairs, tables, kendo sticks, shillelaghs. We saw barrels, flags, bar stools, bar tables. We saw steel chairs and everything in between. This match had it all. This match was so entertaining. And this wasn't a match. This was a brawl. This was a fight. These men were trying to destroy each other. And like, this was a heavy hitting, hard fought match, man. There were so many crazy spots and sequences. This match was an absolute banger, banger after banger after banger. Dude, this match was amazing. And the craziest spot I think we saw by far, we literally saw Sheamus hit a white noise off the top of stacked whiskey barrels through a table on Rusev. I was like, dude, oh my god, these men are putting it all on the line. That was crazy. But anyhow, at the end of the match, Rusev ended up hitting two Machka kicks on Sheamus. He broke a shillelagh across Sheamus's back, and he used the broken shillelagh to put Rusev in the Accolade submission hold. And Sheamus actually tapped out for the second time ever in his career, which is big. That's really big. For the second time ever, he tapped out. And I was like, dude, that's crazy. And this, like I said, was match of the night, in my opinion. And the longer this match went on, the more I was rooting for Rusev. I was behind Sheamus at the start, but I'm like, the longer it went on, the more I was rooting for Rusev, because I'm like, dude, he needs this win. And if Rusev is able to pick up this win, this is going to portray him as the serious character he's supposed to be. It's going to make him look serious. This match is what he needs, This win is what he needs to make him look serious, make him look believable. Like, having a hard fought match like that, dude, you got to be taken seriously, because like, he put everything on the line, and he didn't look weak by any means, dude. So I'm like, anyone who wins this match, it's going to make them, look like an even bigger star. It's going to solidify him. And I was like, you know what? I feel like Sheamus didn't need it as much as Rusev. I felt like Rusev needed it more. And I was rooting for Rusev. I'm like, I really hope he gets it, because, Rusev is one of my favorites. I do like Rusev. Whatever he does is fun. Rusev Day, or, the Russian gimmick, or whatever he's doing now. It's always entertaining, So I was kind of rooting for him. And like I said, the longer this match went on, the more I rooted for him. And it was pretty cool. After that, we got to our fifth match of the night, and it was Logan Paul versus the Never Seen 17, the last real champion, the greatest of all time, John Cena. Now, the crowd was absolutely electric during this entrance and throughout the whole show, but specifically during John Cena's entrance in this match, the crowd lost their mind. They were electric, dude. The crowd was incredible. And you could tell how much this meant to John Cena. Like, he was kind of low-key getting emotional, He was like drinking it all in. This moment, this was special. This was a special moment. And getting into the match, I'm not going to lie to you, the match started off pretty slow in my opinion. Like, the first few minutes were actually kind of boring. Not gonna lie, it started off slow. I didn't really like that, and I was kind of bored at the beginning of the match. But it really started picking up near the middle of the match. That's when it started getting good. We got some cool high-flying moves from Logan Paul, some heavy-hitting moves from John Cena, and impressive sequences from both of them. So this match, it started off slow, but it picked up and it got really good. But my only issue and my only complaint with this match was that Logan Paul was kicking out of too many finishers, too many AAs. I'm like, dude, Logan Paul should not be kicking out of this many AAs or this many finishers, period, Like, finishers in general. It wasn't just AAs. He was kicking out of other stars' finishers. And I'm like, dude, what is this? Is this Superman Paul? Superman Logan Paul? Super Paul? Like, what is this? You got Logan Paul kicking out of multiple AAs, kicking out of the Styles Clash, kicking out of the Code Red, kicking out of Pop Rocks, kicking out of an underhook pile driver. I'm like, dude, like, why is he kicking out of so many finishers? I don't care, it's not AAs or whatever. Like, he was still kicking out of other finishers on top of the A's. I'm like, dude, come on. This is too much. Are we getting an arc of Super Paul at this point? Because I didn't like that at all. I'm like, Logan Paul is still fresh in the game, and he should not be kicking out of this many finishers, okay? You got to work your way up to that status. Anyhow, whatever. We saw a lot of other nonsense finishers that he also kicked out of, and I was like, dude, I really didn't like that. But anyways, at the end of the match, Cena was finally able to put the nail on the coffin, and he hit a third AA on Logan Paul for the win. And this match, it was pretty cool for most of it and very nonsensical at times, but overall, I really enjoyed it. After the match, John Cena ended up celebrating his win. He hugged the kid he insulted and also apologized to, so that was a cool moment. And then John Cena went down. He kissed his wife, girlfriend. I don't know what they are. And he showed respects to Jelly Roll, which was a pretty cool moment. So that was cool. I liked the little moment, the little segment. So yeah, that was that. And that was the end of the match. I thought we were gonna get something crazy, maybe another Brock Lesnar appearance, or maybe the appearance for his next opponent, but we didn't get any of that. So whatever. Yeah, so moving on, we were about to get to our main event, but before the main event, we got a promo interview segment from Seth Rollins, and it was a backstage interview segment. So Seth Rollins was basically getting interviewed, regarding the whole Vision situation, regarding Paul Heyman being hospitalized and the Braun Brawns being banned from the arena. So like, how's he feeling about that? What are his plans now? So Seth Rollins cuts a promo and he says, "You must have forgotten who I am. I am the architect. I am the visionary. I am the revolutionary. I am Seth freaking Rollins. I don't need the vision. I've never needed the vision, or anyone for that fact. And if I can't retain this World Heavyweight Championship tonight by myself, then maybe I don't deserve to hold it. And that's what he said. And I thought that was really powerful. He's like, if I can't retain it by myself, maybe I don't deserve to hold it. And I was like, let him cook. Okay. That was pretty cool. I like that one liner. Anyhow, we finally made it to our main event, our sixth and final match of the night, and it was the fatal four-way match. Jey Uso versus LA Knight versus CM Punk versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. And Seth Rollins absolutely got jumped throughout this match. Everybody ganged up on him, and it was straight hands and receipts in this match, dude. They hit Seth Rollins with whatever they could find, whatever moves they could think of, dude. They jumped him. And I was like, yeah, get your licks back, get your lick back, get your receipts, get your revenge, get it back in blood, okay? If you have to, I'm all here for it. But it was really fun. And surprisingly enough, Jey Uso was the first person to turn on the gang. And I was like, no way. I thought maybe it would have been like LA Knight or CM Punk or something, but Jey Uso, he just ended up super kicking both CM Punk and LA Knight. He's like, dude, I'm out here for myself. I don't need anybody either. So super kick, dude, like no friends out here. It's like, it's a cold world out here. It's a cruel world out here, And he had to remind both of the other stars about that. So super kicks to everyone. He was just standing on his own. But anyhow, though, these men absolutely fought all over the arena, into the crowd, near the announcer's table, everywhere in this arena. It was a really fun match. And throughout this match, it was pretty even. Everybody got their moves in, everybody got their hits in for the most part, and everyone looked good, in my opinion. And we got a lot of cool spots and sequences. CM Punk ended up going through a table. LA Knight went crashing through the announcer's table. We saw multiple finishers, reversals, and even high-flying moves. So that was pretty fun. This match was a pretty fun match, But anyways, at the end of the match, Seth Rollins ended up curve stomping everyone and leaving everyone laid out, and he turned his attention to CM Punk. And he was about to stomp CM Punk through a chair. He had CM Punk's neck through a chair, and he was going to snap CM Punk's neck. He told CM Punk, I hate you. I hate that you're here. I hate your family. I hate everything about you. You don't belong here. And I'm going to make sure you don't show up ever again. So he put CM Punk's neck through a steel chair, and he was about to do a massive curb stomp, and basically take CM Punk out of action. So that was crazy. But CM Punk was able to reverse it, and he hit a GTS on Seth Rollins, the very first GTS. He hits a GTS on Seth Rollins, and then CM Punk picks up Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is dead to rights. He's about to hit a second GTS, but out of nowhere comes the man, Becky Lynch, disguised. She's masked up and everything, dressed in all black. She ends up hitting CM Punk with a low blow. Seth Rollins then curve stomps CM Punk on top of a steel chair. 1, 2, 3, and Seth Rollins is still your World Heavyweight Champion. And we get a shot where the man and the man's man stand tall, and that was that. And that's how the PLE ended. That's how your whole show ended. Overall, like I said, Clash in Paris was definitely a lot better than I expected, a lot better than I thought it would be. I enjoyed this from start to finish. This was fun. A lot of matches, most of the matches, almost every match was a banger. We got a lot of really good matches, a lot of shocking moments. And overall, I would have to rate Clash in Paris a solid 7 out of 10. So that was pretty cool. I enjoyed this PLE, and that was that. Anyhow, that's my review and my breakdown of Clash in Paris. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for hearing me out. And thank you for being here. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to. Like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to. And like, comment, and subscribe if you choose to. As always, it's been a pleasure, and I'm out.